In this Module 1 video presentation, we will take a look at Revit fundamentals and basic editing tools. Based on your introductions, we have a range of backgrounds with some students who are comfortable with Revit and others who haven't used it for some time or just recently learned about the basics. The first 3 chapters of our class book will help everyone to establish the fundamentals before continuing with powerful advanced features. Keep in mind that just when you think you know everything, there's always something that will surprise you. You can open the attached foundation file to follow along with activities in this video, or simply watch the video to pick up features that you may have missed in your past experience with Revit. If you decide to open the file, the unresolved references dialog box will appear. Just pick Ignore and continue with the project. Then here, double-click on the Level 1 view on the left side in the project browser. Revit uses a different language than AutoCAD for basically the same item or concepts, like using the word elements instead of objects and the word tools instead of commands, and sometimes you will hear both. Many tools are similar but have taken on new names, like the split tool compared to the break command, and the array tool with linear and radial compared to rectangular and polar arrays. Let's take a look at the Revit interface. In the upper left corner of the screen, you can access the application menu by picking on the large R. Here you will see commands like save, export, and print. You can also access recent and open drawings by order list, date, size, and type. Use the push pin button to the right of these files to keep a file in the list. It will display at the bottom until you pick the push pin again to turn it off. Picking the options icon at the bottom of this menu gives you access to several tabs, including the General tab, which helps you to set when Revit reminds you to save. Also, in the Graphics tab, if you put a check mark and invert background color, your workspace will turn black as an option. You can change the color that appears when you select and highlight an object. The File Locations tab is useful for controlling the location of your saved drawings. You can also customize the appearance and behavior of the steering wheels and view cube, which we will be using in this class. Canceling out of this dialog box, let's take a look at the new ribbon. The ribbon, which is also used in AutoCAD 2009 and 10, has several tabs at the top separating common Revit features with panels within each ribbon. You can display the panels as they are, or you can use the small icon with an arrow in it just to the right of the Manage tab here to minimize to panel titles, leaving you with the tab titles and the panel titles. When you're ready to use the tools, just rest your pointer on the panel titles to access them. If you pick the small icon again, only the top tab titles will appear for a clear drawing display. Continue picking to get back to the default. Hold your mouse button down on a panel title and move your mouse to drag and drop the position of the panels, or drag it into the drawing display to undock. If you would like to move it back, just pick the icon here in the upper right corner on that panel to send it back to the ribbon. Dual monitors are back, or some of you will say they never left. As an option, I can drag the panels to the other monitor for easy access. There are 2 different types of arrows at the right of the panel titles. The arrow pointing down here will expand the display for additional tools, including a push pin to keep the expanded display locked. The arrow pointing to the right will open a dialog box for additional commands. And as most of you know, when you start a command or select an object, a contextual tab will appear along with tools in the options bar just below the panels as a choice. If you right-click the options bar, you can dock it at the bottom of the display screen or keep it here at the top. Just as a side note, if you're still using AutoCAD, you can access the CUI file to easily include this contextual tab. At the top left corner, you will also see the Quick Access toolbar. If you pick the icon with the line over the down arrow here, you will be able to customize the toolbar to include the tools that you most often use. And, as a choice, move its location above or below the ribbon. The project browser is the most important part of the display and contains all of the views, legends, schedules, sheets, and component families of the entire project. Here. The filter tool at the bottom right helps you select objects based on their parameters or settings and tells you how many objects here you have selected. The view control bar at the bottom left here is used to change the viewing options, including the drawing scale and display options. The status bar at the bottom left corner tells you what you have selected and what to do next. There's also a navigation bar at the right side of the display screen, which can be used to access quickly the zoom commands here. Zoom region is similar to zoom window, and zoom fit to zoom extents. The 2D steering wheel gives you zoom controls for zoom and pan, and with rewind you can display several previous views and select the one we need to view. I'm going to close out of the steering wheel here and show you how to turn on and off this navigation bar. One way is to go to the View tab here at the top and pick the User Interface icon and place a check mark in or out next to the navigation bar. It turns the navigation bar, that small bar here, off. I can go ahead and put the check mark back in to turn it on. There are several ways to access the 3D views. Use the project browser 3D, the 3D view icon here in the View tab, or the 3D tool in the Quick Access toolbar here at the top. We'll change the graphics display from hidden to shading with edges here at the bottom left. We'll be able to view part of our 3D drawing. You can use the wheel of your mouse to zoom and pan, or you can hold your shift key down and the wheel of your mouse to orbit within the model. Every time you double-click a view in the project browser, you're opening another view in the display area of the screen. Go to the View tab and use the Windows panel to tile the views to place them next to each other. Closing this original drawing here, I can tile again to display these drawings side by side. Notice that when I select the section box, which is cropping the view here in the 3D view, in the floor plan I'll be able to see that section box. So here I'm going to select it here in the view, and I'll be able to see the selection box in the floor plan also. Using the blue arrows in the plan to change the size of the box will automatically update the display of the model. Notice there are two columns here in the 3D model. I'll go ahead and select in the plan this blue section box, hold my left mouse button down on those blue grips, drag your mouse out and enlarge the section box. Here now I can see that third column. A change in one view represents a change in all views. You can double click on the building section mark to display also the section. Now you can see why it's convenient to have dual monitors. I'm going to go ahead and close here these drawings and go to the level 2 plan. Let's take a look at duplicating views. You can use the icon in the View tab here for duplicating views, or you can right click here on that view in the project browser to go to duplicating views. You'll have 3 choices. You can duplicate a view so that only the model geometry duplicates. You can duplicate with detailing, which includes annotation, dimensions, and all the detailing. Or you can use duplicate as a dependent, which creates a view that will be dependent on the original view, and both views will update automatically as changes are made in either view. Because I'm going to create an east and west floor plan by cropping this longer plan, I will use duplicate as a dependent. I'll go ahead and create here another view. You can notice it in the project browser. And I'll create another view here, duplicate as dependent. I'll end up with 2 new views and I'll rename them. I can highlight the view, right click, and pick rename. I'm going to rename this one here East Floor Plan, and I'll go ahead and rename this one West Floor Plan. The view that is highlighted is not necessarily the view that is actively open. Notice here I can highlight a different view, but it's the view that's in bold text, or you can look at the very top of your screen for the name of this view. This being the East Floor Plan, I'm going to scroll back, select here the cropping region, and change the limits of that view. And I'll do the same thing for my West Floor Plan. I can use switch windows to go back to my level 2 drawing. Just as a side note, in the Home tab we could draw a reference plane to accurately line up the cropping regions for the East and West floor plans. Now I can right click here in the project browser in the Sheets area and create a new sheet. Pick OK for the sheet size, and notice in the project browser I have a sheet here that's unnamed. If I zoom down here in the drawing to the title block, I can rename this sheet A1 as an example and see the change instantly in the project browser here. Now that I have my sheet set up, I can go over to my East and West floor plans and drag and drop them into the drawing sheet. There's the East and the West. Let's now take a look at the Object Styles dialog box in the Manage tab under Settings here. It displays all of the categories available in a fixed list. Each element or family belongs to a category, And the categories are either model or annotation. So for example, a door would be in the model objects, and in the annotation objects we would see door tags. There are also subcategories like glass and panel in the doors. The line weight for each category is established and separated by projection or the surface lines that you would see in an elevation or any view that isn't cut, and the cut line weight, how elements will appear when they are cut by section or by the view plane or floor levels. Notice the projection lines here for walls, line weight of 2, and the cut lines are much higher or bolder in appearance with a line weight of 5. I'll cancel out of this Object Styles dialog box to type in VG to show you the visibility graphics overrides. Very similar in appearance. I set these up side by side so that you can see the organized structure of Revit categories. They look similar because they both have categories, projection and cut lines, and patterns. But the difference is that the object styles change settings in all of the views, and the visibility graphic overrides will override the settings of categories in the current view. It will not affect other views. Instead of typing VG to open the visibility graphics dialog box and turn off the annotation category for these wall tags, you can select a wall tag, right click, go to hide in view and category. Notice that all the wall tags for this view will turn off. Module 1 includes chapters 1 through 3. This was video presentation 1. There's a second video for the Revit Fundamentals video presentation 2 posted, which includes families, constraints, and many editing tools.